Oh, and then last thing is, I have a question for Impound. My brother in writing, was this supposed to be signed? I know King Lion is pissed. Because what do you mean that we had a whole subsect of the comic book community choosing to boycott DC and calling out DC being so white? And the main driver of that was, hey, go ahead and support independent comic books that are made by black people for black people with black characters, and not a single person is talking about Impound versus Flame. Now, I'll be the first to admit I have not read Flame. I have not read Impound. I am looking for that Flame omnibus, and King Lion stopped playing with me. I want it. But when we were doing the DC blackout, I made it very apparent that I was going to make sure that I was going to put my dollars toward Impound versus Flame and let this be my first introduction to these characters. I was not expecting this book. I honestly remember leaving my lunch break when I was reading this, and I finished it. And I walked back out to the floor, and one of my coworkers who knows I'm a big comic book nerd, I was just like, man, my lunch was great. But my lunch was great because this story was great. Let's get this out of the way first. Impound versus Flame, yeah, that's a misnomer. That is a gross understatement of what this book actually is. Independent creators, which I am one myself. Independent creators, this book is for us. What I really loved about this book was just the amount of world building that was done within it, specifically for the fact that King Lion and Impound basically created the indie space Omniverse. Let me just read this. The indie space is a place built for creators. It exists between what is real and fiction, giving creators the ability to test their creations while also communicating with fellow creators so that they may create together and grow together. Again, I cannot stress how much this book is for you if you are an indie creator. I don't want to spoil too much, but the biggest thing that really stood out to me in this book was the fact that these were two creators who were coming together and having a conversation on what exactly it means to create in the indie space, to build worlds, to basically be a god of your own universe, which is a wild statement coming from me being a Christian content creator. But that's what it is. We create the worlds, we guide the stories, we have these characters be put in these situations to help them grow, and overall, while we are helping them grow, we're helping ourselves grow. I have it open to the page. There is a scene in here where all the forgotten dreams that we have had as creators are purified and remind us that it's never too late to live out our dreams. If you're looking at the book, this is just basically the beginning of the book. There's more conversations like this throughout the rest of the book. What does it mean to create? What kind of responsibilities do we have as creators? What does it mean to give up on the dreams that were placed deep inside of us? And of course, the world building doesn't stop there. Obviously, for the Impound universe and the Flame universe, like if this is your first introduction, don't be afraid of that, because there was a lot that I learned about these characters and the world based on the fact that they took the time to create data pages. And when I say King Lion knows his world, I mean, this man knows his world. Like Impound, no shade to you, but it was glaringly obvious when King Lion was putting in his information for the Flame universe compared to the Impound universe. Not saying that Impound doesn't have world building, it's just apparently Flame is extremely extensive. Try not to get too spoily here, but when we get to the Zodiac Champion, and there is 3 pages of data on what that means, King Lion knows his shit. But also for Brent and Everett, and yes, I'm using your government names because of the fact that this is personal, I appreciated the fact that the two of y'all got personal with each other within your own story. Now for me, I have been following King Lion for a few years, and by the way, I've seen some Impound stuff as well. And so overall, I was very surprised that the human interaction of trying to help King Lion not be a god of war was in this book. Look, if you know anything about King and Queen Lion, you know that Everett be kind of in some stuff every once in a while, and that's okay. But what I really loved about this storyline was it was two brothers that were coming together and having a serious conversation about it, one that they've had previously before, and then putting it in writing. Me and my sister, we actually share King Lion's videos back and forth with each other, and we have noticed that there has been a slight tone down in fighting with people online. And because y'all been working on this book for so long, I believe this book is the reason why. So that's what also made this story interesting for me, is, you know, having a parasocial relationship with, you know, the writers made it easier to see the overall like tone of the writer in the book, and that was actually really cool. The last thing I have to say is, King, you need to unchain your wife from that desk.
He wanted to ask a question, and his question is, in the making of Impound versus Flame, did we use AI to draw this book? The answer is no. We got to a point where we now have to get her a new tablet because she drew a hole in it. No, let's be so for real. She drew an entire hole in her screen tablet.
Unshackle her, King. Let her breathe, King. Let her breathe, man. Let her up, King. Y'all, let her up. I mean, shout out to you, Miss McCoy. Like, even your avatar looks great. Just Black beauty all around. Let that woman breathe, King. Let her up. Oh, and then last thing is, I have a question for Impound. My brother in writing, was this supposed to be signed? Stay with me here because this gets a little complicated. At my job, we have a serious graffiti issue going on in our building. And while I was at work, I pulled the book out and I immediately noticed this signature. Because of how bad this graffiti problem is, my first thought was someone came in here and tagged on my book. Why BTS? I don't know. Maybe they're repping the K-pop group. I'm not part of gang culture. I don't know what's out here. Maybe there's a gang in my area called BTS. I don't know. It never once dawned on me that might be somebody's signature. So I opened up a whole HR investigation asking for cameras to be checked to see if we could find out who may have possibly wrote on my book. Just for me a few days later to realize that Impound's real name is Brent Tracy Sands. You know, BTS. So Impound, as you can see between the picture and me holding up my actual copy, I may have gotten rid of your signature if that was your signature. So yeah, if you could answer that question for me. I went looking online to see if you had signed anything else. You're an indie creator, so obviously Google doesn't have that much information, but I could not find BTS anywhere else from you. So did I mess up? I need to know if I messed up. But anyway, Impound versus Flame, go support the book if you have not gotten it already. I will try to make sure I link it down below. This is not a sponsored video, by the way. Neither one of these creators follow me or probably even know who I am. I think King Lion maybe liked one of my videos before, but other than that, they probably don't know who I am. So this is me just glazing this book because I enjoyed it that much. But also, King, if you could help a brother out and actually tell me how to get the omnibus, because I have been looking since I initially first saw that you had an omnibus and I cannot find it. This would not have been my first introduction to the Flame world if the omnibus was available. I want an omnibus. Look, man, I promised I'm willing to pay. That I put my money where my mouth is while I support DC So White. I'm over here making sure I give Black comic book creators their money. I've seen Ace Blade stuff. He had a Kickstarter. I went ahead and backed all 10 issues. I backed y'all on Versus. I will pay for the omnibus. Just tell me where to get it, man. That's all I need to know. But anyway, once again, Impound versus Flame. Get it for yourself. Let me know what you think about it if you've read it, and let's talk about it as well. But as always, I am upcoming author. Thank y'all for getting caught up with me and my favorite media, and God saying the same. I will catch y'all later. And I love y'all. Peace.